Good evening. My name is Jennifer Preble, and I'm the Saco School Board Chair. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7 p.m. this Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Please note that we have all school board members in attendance, and would you kindly join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Moving on to item 3, school board meeting minutes dated November 12th, 2025. There is a memo in your packet with the minutes. Do I have a motion or any discussion on the item agenda?
Chair Preble.
School board member Truman.
I move we approve the school board meeting minutes dated November 12th, 2025.
I have a motion by school board member Truman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, second by school board member, Jeff Richards, thank you. All right, any discussion on the item? All right, roll call vote. School board member Warnoff?
Yes.
School board member Richards?
Yes.
I vote yes. School board member Roach?
Yes.
School board member Kidder?
Abstain.
Okay. School board member Truman?
Yes.
And school board member Johnston?
I abstained due to lack of being here that day, unfortunately.
Okay. Motion passes with 5 yes, 2 abstentions. All right. Moving on to item 4, adjustments to the agenda. There are no adjustments this evening that I've been made aware of. And item 5, moving right into that, is correspondence. There wasn't any correspondence brought to my attention. So we can move right on to item 6, which is public session. Please feel free to come before the school board and state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you. All right. Hello.
My name is Anne-Marie Swenson. I live in Scarborough, and I am the CFO at Thornton Academy. And I just want to add context to Thornton Academy's response to the request to share data from the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey, as noted on tonight's agenda. As you may know, Saco and TA recently received the results of the voluntary student survey completed earlier this year. In preparation for this meeting, Saco's superintendent, Ms. Parkhurst, reached out to TA's associate head of school, Ms. Taranko, to ask that TA share the database of survey results for grades 9 through 12. TA is not comfortable sharing the complete database at this time for 2 reasons. First, we have not decided yet how we are going to use and share the data. But second, because the survey is anonymous, we are unable to separate Saco student responses from those of the over 40% of our students who are not from Saco. That said, TA believes it is important to collaborate and offered to share a sample of the data highlighting strengths and areas for growth. Ms. Parker shared her draft presentation with Ms. Taranko, so TA could follow a similar format, and thank you very much, Meg, that was really helpful. Ms. Taranko then extracted the survey results to share and created the slides to facilitate the process for Saco. And it just seems important to clarify TA's very purposeful efforts to collaborate and provide the data in your presentation tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is anyone else wishing to come before the board? All right, seeing that no one is seeking recognition, we will move on to item 7, which is the superintendent's report. Superintendent Ray.
All right, good evening, everybody. We know that last week was a very important week for us as we had the opportunity to have our groundbreaking ceremony. We see that Beth is already out cutting the road for Beth Johnson Way. Thank you, Kevin, for those pictures.
Video, if anyone wants
Okay.
it, just email me and you'll see her in the truck there.
Thank you, Kevin.
But what a moment for us. And I just want to thank Mayor McPhail, the school committee, the city council, our educators, our project contractors for their partnership and support through this milestone. I want to do a special shout out to Mabel at Go See Tice for providing the delicious food at the reception and Maureen Grandmason Photography for capturing the moments. If you get a chance, I know I emailed you all, and for anybody here in the public, we have a construction page on the website that highlights the events. You will see all of the progress. We get some great drone footage of that event, and we will be keeping everybody updated. We had our first construction meeting today to talk about certain aspects of what's going on in the process. We have our clerk of the works. Meg and I will be meeting on Friday for an interview for owner's rep. So we're moving right along on that. This Monday, Reese Across America was able to stop at Biddeford Middle School, and we were able to get all of our kiddos at Burns and Fairfield out on the street to welcome the convoy into town as they roll through. So that was a great experience for our kiddos. Best Buddies program, Fairfield School is officially launching its Best Buddies program, which will begin meeting after the upcoming break. This initiative helps build early connections between students with and without intellectual and developmental disabilities through inclusive activities that foster friendship, acceptance, and social emotional growth. I want to thank Donna Powell for taking the lead as a facilitator and Wendy LeBlanc for her support. As you know, we share the position of Director of Community Outreach with Biddeford, and we have an employee, Shelley Kane, who works for us, who is named one of the top 10 Mainers to be thankful for. The amount of resources we're able to funnel to families through this position, donations, aid for Saco kids, is really great. And just whether through that announcement or through the work that we were doing to make sure that our kids were fed during the shutdown and continued efforts, Aid for Saco Kids has raised significant funds to support those efforts. And so we're very thankful to several donors and anybody who's contributed. On behalf of the students at Fairfield School, I'd like to thank the PTO for purchasing a new basketball hoop for the Fairfield playground. The Biddeford Saco Rotary Club each winter supports about 200 students between Biddeford and Saco, helping with Christmas gifts. And so just thank you to them, because been part of the delivery process over time, and it's really something special when the community chips in to make sure that people have a Christmas in their home. And then also thank you to the University of New England, who is also doing an additional toy drive. I think that, last but not least, parents, please, please, please make sure that you have correct information at each school, because that is how we notify you of school closures. It will always be on Facebook page, you'll get the call, but we still have some families who don't always receive those because you might have changed work email address that's still in our system, a cell phone number's changed. Love to see that stuff updated.
All right, any questions for Superintendent Ray?
Oh, sorry, I had one more thing, sorry. Thursday and Friday, the 11th and 12th, the SMS Bobcat players will host their Wizard of Oz production at 7 p.m. in the SMS cafeteria.
Fantastic. Any other questions for Superintendent Ray? School Board Member Roach?
We're not talking about school construction anywhere else in the meeting, right?
I put it on there just for an update, but now would be a certain, I have building update and groundbreaking, but I kind of all shared that.
Yeah, there was no
Yeah, there's
link
no
to
link
it.
to it.
Okay.
If you have a question, I'm happy to answer it.
If you have stuff on that, no, I just, with the, I mean, yeah, we saw the Beth Johnson Way being done, but, so does that imply that, okay, everything has approvals for the road, and then it's going from the middle of the property out to the road, but when is the, do you know when the road, you probably don't, I don't know if you know this, from the road into the property, the culvert work and all that?
I don't. We talked today that during our construction meetings, which are, Meg, every week or every other week? Every other Tuesday, and we planned it that way so that I would have the freshest, put it on school committee weeks, so that I'd have the freshest information to pass on at school committee the next night. They will probably be providing us with about like a 3 to 4 week projection of work that will be done once they get into that piece, so that Meg and I will come out of that meeting and kind of have an idea of what's going to happen over the next month, and then they'll update that. So as far as that piece, Kevin, I don't have an answer tonight for that, but I suspect it will be, I know they were talking today about temperatures and the cold streak. They don't do a lot of the groundwork when it's super cold and all of those pieces.
Right. Yeah. I was just, just for the visual of if any parents or staff want to drive down there, once the culvert or the connection's done, you'll clearly see like, okay, that's what people are talking about.
And it won't be long before that that road is in, at least, in a temporary fashion, because they're going to be looking to make most of their deliveries coming that way, because obviously Route 1 traffic and the turning piece is set up to only turn one direction, and they'll want to do more through that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other questions for Superintendent Ray? All right. Moving on to item 8, Chair's Report. I don't have anything new to report this evening, so we can move on to item 9, Staff Reports. Anything under Staff Reports, Superintendent Ray?
Yes. So in our effort to try to have students come to the school committee meeting, and noting that 7 o'clock meetings are not the ideal time for young school kiddos, I've asked Paulette to come from the Center of Technology, and we have 2 Thornton Academy students who are involved in our vocational programs, who will be talking to the board a little bit about their experience.
Awesome. All right.
Hi, I'm Zoe Dancause. I'm a junior at Thornton Academy. I am in the automotive technology 1 class, and I knew initially, before I even chose that class, that I was going to want to go to Voc, because it's a whole different experience from the Saco schools to a Biddeford school. So I was choosing between either going to welding or auto body or automotive, but I wanted to learn more about engines because I work in excavation and I do a lot of earthwork. So I'm around a lot of heavy equipment and trucks and everything, and so I wanted to learn more about like how they work because I work on them anyways at my house. So I just wanted to learn more about that, but if I had to choose if I'd start over again and do this again, I would, because it's a whole nother experience than anything else I've done, because there's a lot of different people that you meet, and there's a lot of different things that you learn from all these people. They're all like different types of people, and you get to work with a lot of different people that I probably wouldn't even work with anyways, because I wouldn't think to, and it's just a really great experience for me. And I think next year, instead of doing the second year, I'm gonna do an internship with a diesel mechanic, and maybe eventually go out to Wyoming to Wyotech and be a diesel mechanic, and then come back here after a year of doing that. So, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Jackson Howard. I am a senior and the student body president at Thornton Academy. I am a second-year student at Biddeford Regional Center of Technology. I spent the last 2 years in the medical field at BRCOT, last year in the Intro to Medical Sciences class, and this year in the Emergency Medical Services class. I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk about what these programs in school has done for me. Last year, when I first joined Intro to Medical Sciences, I knew I wanted to do something in the medical field, but I didn't know how much that class would change the course of my life. It wasn't just a regular high school class. We didn't get lectured for 2 hours and take notes all day. We learned about anatomy and physiology, learned how to draw blood, learned how to suture a patient, and learned how to intubate. We learned what it was really like to be in the medical field with job shadow opportunities. I gained an interest in emergency medicine, and for the first time in my life, I felt a connection to something that I could see myself doing for the rest of my life. Now, Intro to Medical Sciences was a one-year course, and because of my sparked interest, I joined the EMS class, taught by the same teacher to hopefully become a licensed EMT. Stepping into the EMT program was a whole new level. This time I wasn't just learning about emergency medicine, I was training for it. I've learned how to assess patients, manage medical and trauma scenarios, respond to medical emergencies with a calm and clear head. The scenarios we run in class feel real, and that forces you to grow. I've gained confidence that I've never had before, the kind of confidence where you know that if something happened in front of you, you could step in and actually make a difference. What I've gotten out of BRCOT goes way beyond skill. It's given me direction, purpose, and a deeper passion for the medical field. Because of this program, I now know I want to work in emergency medicine, starting as an EMT and eventually becoming a physician's assistant. Having that clarity in high school is rare, and I don't take it for granted. But the biggest reason this program has had such an impact is the teachers. The teachers at BRCOT don't just teach, they care about you as a person, your goals, and where you want to go in life. I especially want to highlight my EMT instructor, Mr. Rory Putnam. He is the reason my interest in medicine grew into a real passion. He pushes us not to stress us out, but because he genuinely believes in us. He treats us as young professionals, not as kids. He's patient, experienced, and he takes the time to make sure every single student understands not just what to do, but why it matters. It's rare to have a teacher who makes you feel capable of something as serious as emergency medicine at 18 years old, but that's what Mr. Putnam does. He's the one who helped spark my true love for medicine, and I am incredibly grateful for that. I know the rest of the teachers at BRCOT do the exact same. BRCOT has prepared me for a future I'm excited about. It's given me life skills, confidence, and mentors who truly care. I'm proud to be part of this program, and I'm thankful for the opportunities it's opened up to me. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Do you guys have questions for the students?
I don't really have any questions, but I think this is a really incredible insight to like what you guys are doing there and like what it spawned you wanting to do further later in life and the things that it's exposed you to. So I thank you very much for coming in and sharing. I really appreciate it. Great, thank you.
Yeah, so currently there are 115 students, Saco students, that are at the vocational center. Another 23-ish from Dayton that are TA students that come. Great to see them come over every day. They fill up our parking lot midday. I'm fortunate enough I have a son that goes to the program. This young lady has worked on a truck of mine, which I'm really proud of, doing great. And it's just a great experience that we see kids coming from different walks and different interests into the center. And happy you guys could be here tonight to be part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to item 10, board subcommittee meeting minutes. Item A, Policy and Personnel Committee met this evening at 5:30. B, Finance and Infrastructure Committee, our next meeting is January 28th at 4:30. Curriculum Committee, there we go. Minutes are dated in here for 11/24 at 4:30. Our next meeting is 12/15 at 4:30. Any questions on the committees or any of that? All right, moving on to item 11, old business. I did not see any old business to be discussed, so we can go right into item 12, which is new business, which is the policy BDA organizational meeting with current committee members and meetings. Superintendent Ray.
Okay, this is our organizational meeting for the year. We have a couple of things that we need to do first. Obviously, we need to elect a board chair, and then look at the committees that we have, and not necessarily have to appoint those tonight, but at least let us know where people are interested. We need to get people in the right place. We have a lot of people returning that love the work that we do, and my preference always is, like, if you love what you're doing and you're working on a committee, let's stay there. But if there are some people that want to make some swaps around, that would be a great conversation with the board chair.
All right. Do I have a motion on the table to elect a chair for the new year cycle? School Board Member Johnston.
Thank you very much. I would like to make a motion to elect Sarah Truman as our board chair for the coming year.
I have a motion on the table to elect Sarah Truman for the board chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by School Board Member Roach. Any discussion on that? All right. Moving on, roll call vote. School Board Member Warnoff.
Yes?
School Board Member Richards.
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member Roach.
Yes.
School Board Member Kidder.
Yes.
School Board Member Truman.
I'm allowed to vote for myself?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations, new board chair Truman. Yay! All right. Superintendent Ray, do we vote on vice chair next? Is that the motion?
Yes.
All right. Do I have a motion for a nomination for vice chair? Oh, whoa, I got double hands. Who was first? I didn't catch it.
Hope I was.
I'm going to take a gamble on school. Okay, School Board Member Roach. You guys okay with it?
I nominate Jen Preble to be vice chair.
Okay.
Second?
With a second by Beth Johnson, so hold on.
Second by Warnoff.
Warnoff, I stand high, wholly corrected. Thank you. Bear with me a second. So I have a motion by School Board Member Roach with a second by School Board Member Warnoff. Thank you for the correction. Do I have any discussion on nomination for vice chair? All right. Moving on to roll call vote. School Board Member Warnoff.
Yes?
School Board Member Richards.
Yes.
I vote yes for myself. School Board Member Roach.
Yes.
School Board Member Kidder.
Yes.
School Board Member Truman.
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 for Vice Chair of Jennifer Preble. All right. Thanks. Okay. And then back to you, Superintendent Ray, on committees.
The committee piece, there is current committees. Some of you have reached out to me. I haven't heard from everybody, and I really would like to hear from everybody and funnel that through board chair.
Oh, that's fine. Send me an email. I was gonna say, I'm not changing, so you guys can. Yeah, let me know if there's any changes. Otherwise, I'll just keep you on whatever you're on right now. And if you want to know about schedules and what it entails, I'm happy to provide that too. Like, I know a couple people emailed me about personnel and negotiations, and I said, buckle up. So.
Okay. So maybe what we can do, Superintendent Ray, if it's appropriate, is we can reach out to Sarah and then maybe next meeting revisit that.
Yeah, and certainly if you want to include Meg and I on those emails as well, we can keep a tracking sheet, but I didn't hear from everybody, so I want to make sure that we get people in the right place.
School Board Member Roach.
I was going to ask about some of these liaisons, and I thought they were blank, but there are names in here. Were they just assigned, or? I'm not objecting, but I must have.
Meg.
So the spreadsheet that's in there, last year, we did the committee assignments in January of '25. I since added a December of '25 tab, which will be whatever committees the chair appoints for this upcoming organizational meeting to organizational meeting agenda. Does that make sense?
That's fine.
So the people in there for January 2025 are the ones that have served for the last
Yeah.
11 months.
Okay. Because I am on the calendar committee, and you guys can kiss summer vacation goodbye, so.
That's why we didn't invite you last time.
That's right, that's right. I'm just kidding.
Okay. All right, so we will potentially move on from that, Superintendent Ray. We can move on to the next item. All right. Item B, which is new hires. Do I have a motion? There is a memo in your packet. School Board Member Truman.
I move we approve the nomination of Joshua Rich, young school counselor, for a one-year position for the remainder of the 25-26 school year. And I move to approve those listed in the stipend section and issue a stipend contract for the 25-26 school year.
All right, I got a motion by School Board Member Truman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member Johnston, if I heard correctly. Any discussion on the motion? All righty, moving on. Roll call vote. School Board Member Warnoff.
Yes.
School Board Member Richards.
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member Roach.
Yes.
School Board Member Kidder.
Yes.
School Board Member Truman.
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. All right. Moving on to item C, resignations. I did not have, there is a memo in your packet, but I did not see there was a motion needed for that this evening. So we can move right back into item D, which is building update and groundbreaking, which we've already heard some lovely information on. Superintendent Ray.
No further update.
No further update. Short and sweet. Okay. Moving on to item E, child care survey results. Superintendent Ray.
Okay, so one of the things that has kind of been on our mind for a while is we know that quality child care, there's never enough of it, and also is very costly. And when we think about some of the challenges that our teachers face, we think about just the challenge of affording housing and then childcare and those pieces. And then we also, as a community, think about the recruitment efforts of staff. And so we sent out a survey to all staff in Biddeford, Saco, and Dayton to look at what was the interests from employees of if we could be like other businesses and or school departments and offer on-site childcare for employees with a goal that this would be, maybe operating at a break-even level. When you think about some of the overhead costs, the heat's already on, the power's already hooked up, some of those things that you could eliminate from that formula and provide this for our staff. And when we received the information back, you can see that there was 24 staff members in Saco who said yes, they would have some interest in exploring this piece. What we're looking for, other than to provide this information to you guys, is a little bit of a blessing from you guys to say, continue down this path, exploring this option, not voting on anything to add it. There is so much that we need to follow up on. We've met with DHHS. There's locations. There's a lot of things, but quite frankly, I didn't want us to go down a road that there wouldn't be support from the board if we came with a possible solution to some of this, and so that's why the memo's here tonight to kind of say, yeah, this intrigues us as a board. Continue to do some more work on this and try to bring something back. You've heard stories from us that when we go to recruitment fairs at our local universities, a lot of times we'll say, hey, we'd be really interested in coming to Saco, yet we can't afford the rent, or we're not looking to have 3 roommates. We just had 4 years of having 3 roommates, and sometimes that's a little bit of a deterrent. This would allow us to look at a different demographic of possible employee that may be seeing childcare and on-site childcare as an advantage. I think about my own situation of when I had kids and Suzanne and I were both working in Westbrook. We were on one side of town and our son's daycare was on the other side of Westbrook. And just to make that quick 2 or 3 mile drive at the end of the school day, you were looking at probably an additional hour added to your day by the time you fought traffic over, fought traffic back, picked up your kiddo, had a conversation with the daycare provider, and went home, which adds additional stress to families. If we had an on-site or in-town daycare, which, again, at some point in time, we will have all of our elementary schools sitting on one campus, the convenience factor for a staff member to be able to walk out of their classroom, walk across the same campus, grab your child, buckle them into the car, and go home, you might be picking up an hour or more in your day that isn't sitting behind the wheel fighting traffic. And so we see this as a huge draw if we were something that we were able to create, looking at it as a system of how we could lower costs for people. And we're not really competing because there's not enough daycares as it is. We have people leaving the profession to stay home with their children because it doesn't make sense for them to work and pay all of that money out versus being in our schools. And so we have a high level of interest of trying to create something, but obviously not looking at creating something that a board wouldn't have some interest in exploring.
School Board Member Truman.
I just want to say that I've been squawking about this for years, and I'm very happy to see that you have taken the initiative to go and ask staff like what they think about this idea, how many of them are interested. So you have my full blessing. I can holy water, sprinkle dust, whatever you need. Like.
And I think one of the things too is not only did we get obviously there are people who responded, this doesn't apply to me. Again, I would have been an employee that said this doesn't apply to me at this time. But the number of our employees who filled out the form and then also left a comment that said, great idea, boy, this would have been helpful. That was we probably got more comments like that than we did responses of people who were interested, because all of the people throughout the years who said, yeah, I could have used this. And again, we're not making any promises. We just want to be able to do some homework to see if there's an option that we can put out there. I think our thought would be is that if we weren't able to fill this with staff children, and again, open to all staff, not just teachers, all staff, that any open slots would then be able to be kind of offered to other city employees. I suspect, though, that any ability for us to create something in the next couple of years are probably, our numbers probably would be much lower than what the desired numbers from staff would be. I don't know that we could scale up quite that fast, even if we pulled something together, so there'd be a lot of details to be worked out.
School Board Member Kidder. Okay, just making sure.
This might have basically been answered in what you just said, but I'm assuming that at some point the conversation might include like aftercare for the school-age children rather than just the daycare-age kids.
I think there's probably endless opportunities. Right now, we're really focused on what it would take building-wise, what it would take staffing-wise. Our next step, if we had blessing to explore this more, would be pulling the staff members from all 3 districts together for us to listen and say, okay, so yeah, we have this data, but tell us more. Like, what are the barriers? Really, I'm interested in price point. Like, what makes a significant difference? What is that point where we could be operating at, no cost to the taxpayer and lowering that to the employee? Yes, looking at having to understand what happens when teachers have meetings after school. The other piece that was, I think that we could offer is because these would be jobs that would, for many daycare providers, quality health insurance is probably out of the financial reach in that piece, and trying to build that in to have the employees would be able to offer health care. So I think we'd have some interest in having that. The other piece that was always frustrating to me during the summer months, with my wife being an educator and an educator myself, is that we wouldn't have necessarily needed childcare in the summertime, but I understood that the childcare center needed to hold our slot, and so we still had to write that check in the summertime, and really would love to be able to see how we could do that for staff members so that we could cover costs and not have to write that check during the summertime, which would give another financial incentive for them and for us as a recruiting, in recruitment for the district.
School Board Member Roach? I didn't know if you had questions. You looked like you might.
So I'm 1,000% behind this pursuit, but I want to throw a curveball, and I do think we need to, I do recommend we vote. And why I say that is some experience from my council days where we offered the Montessori school at least into the rec center, which did not provide the opportunity for the general community to possibly host it or what have you. So there could be daycare facilities close to school as well that they might want to participate in a sense that, hey, we're close to the school, it's right next door to one of the schools, we can make it work too, and it's a win-win for all. But I just think that a school board vote for you and staff to pursue this makes it just more public and more inclusive, and and send a strong message out that this school board does support the pursuit. And then, of course, when budget time comes up or negotiations with union staff and all that, is that we've made that strong vote now for you to then go out and start talking about it. If that's okay with to make a motion, or?
Okay, Carolyn, what do you have for a question?
I don't have a question. I support the idea, and I want to give the go-ahead as a board for you to do more research, but I am concerned about the cost and how you're going to tie that in.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the interesting piece, because essentially, again, I recognize that at the end of the day, a lot of the decisions will be on the final spreadsheet that we make to say, how do you do this? And how is this the most cost effective? And again, there may be some, as we look at this more and we look at some of our data about, well, okay, there is a cost to hiring employees, and if we know that we're losing 4 or 5 employees a year who are staying home for with their children for a couple of years and then returning to the system, there's a cost to that as well. Not only from a financial piece, but from changing of team structures at schools to bringing on new staff to curricular changes. There's all those pieces, and our goal is to figure out how we do this and present something. And maybe we'll find that it's really hard and that it's not there, but at least we studied and did the work.
Oh, School Board Member Johnston.
Thank you. I think my sense of what everybody has said here tonight, Mr. Superintendent, is that we are really interested and supportive of the idea. I think that Kevin makes a good point that to really show our support by actually taking a vote of some sort to move it forward makes sense. And I think Carolyn's right that money is obviously, and I know it's on your mind as well, money is obviously a question. And I do think that anyone who's been trying to work and have children when they're younger at the same time knows how valuable that this could be for our employees. So yes, I do definitely support the idea, and I do think that we should move forward with doing more research. So thank you very, very much for that.
Any other questions for Superintendent Ray? Any other motions on deck? School Board Member Roach.
I make a motion to authorize administration, the superintendent, to pursue an on-site daycare program for Saco school staff.
I have a motion by School Board Member Roach. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Woo, that was fun. I think I heard School Board Member Truman. So I have a second by School Board Member Truman. Any discussion on it? Oh, anybody?
I just wanted to say that I'm very excited about this. I know I got all, but I think going into this very thoughtfully is the best way to do this and getting a full blessing from the board. So.
All right. Moving on to roll call vote.
Nope.
Oh, one more question.
Just
So-
one additional comment, not in the motion, but we're the Saco school board to make a decision for Saco school staff, but I certainly want to also, open it up in your pursuits to also offer to Thornton Academy staff as well, as a collective effort to bring as much quality educators into the city. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, moving on to roll call vote. School Board Member Warnoff?
Yes?
School Board Member Richards?
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member Roach?
Yes.
School Board Member Kidder?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. So that's very exciting. All right. Moving on to item F, MIYHS survey results. Assistant Superintendent Meg Parkhurst, take us away.
Thank you. So I come to you this evening to share the results of the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey. I'll start, as I tend to do, with a little bit of a background about what the intent of the measure is, and then we'll dive into some of the details. I've also provided the full backup of all of the questions and the percentages to show Saco student responses in grades 6, 7, and 8 for both of those surveys. I will note that the surveys are in bands that have slightly different age-appropriate questions. So there's a 5th, 6th grade set of questions, a 7th, 8th grade set of questions, and then a 9, 12 set of questions. We do not have 5th grade data, and we're looking into that because I'm not sure we had a conversation with our administrative team about the data, and Principal Noble and I were both not sure why we didn't have the opportunity to take it in 5th grade, and we've since found the state contact, and we'll be trying to pursue adding 5th grade data moving forward. So it is a statewide optional health survey conducted every 2 years. It's anonymous and confidential, so there's no way to ever tie any information back to a specific student. It covers physical health, mental health, safety, and also risky behaviors or risk factors for students. In 2025, which was in the spring of last year, so even though it's 6th, 7th, and 8th, it's this year's 7th, 8th, and 9th graders that were surveyed. We had 175 of our 6th grade students and 322 of our students in 7th and 8th grade. It's a really important metric not only for helping schools identify strengths and areas for growth, but also in pursuing grant funding opportunities, so that if we look at specific areas where we have some concrete data about things that we can then pursue grant funding in areas where we have information to back that up. And of course, it's incredibly important to us to look at this information holistically as we prepare students for Thornton Academy, especially in knowing what the students that our Saco students are attending school with, that it's not just about Saco students, but just like for any family member, it's not just about the choices that your own child is making, but the choices that their peers are making that can have a big impact on what conversations you might want to have with your own child at home, or what kinds of proactive education we might want to do, knowing the full environment and scale that our Saco students will be stepping into. So just to kind of give you a big picture overview of some areas in which we excel, our bullying rates continue to be below the state average. We have strong family support, with 93% of middle schoolers reporting that they feel supported by their family. Substance abuse prevention is looking to be doing a good job based on this data. I wanted to highlight the inclusion of day one counseling services at Saco Middle School, as well as our partnership with Healthy Communities through Maine Health, which provides both professional development resources and curricular instructional resources around substance abuse prevention. Our mental health rates show significantly lower suicidal ideation than the state average. School connection, students report feeling that adults care about them, and I would like to, again, kind of harken back to some of what you heard a couple of months ago around our resiliency coordinators and some days, which have been in place for longer in this administration than our previous one. We had a pretty remarkable improvement in students reporting their nutrition. I have on the left side here that lighter blue bar showing the 2023 results, and then the darker blue bar showing 2025. It is disaggregated between those 6th grade scores on the left, and then the dotted bar graph lines are the 7th and 8th grade questions, but all of these questions kind of relate to nutrition and health. I personally, and in the conversation with the curriculum committee, feel like some of this is due to the universal school lunch, which gives students an opportunity to have access to fresh fruits and vegetables at breakfast and lunch every single day, and that then increases the likelihood that students would report consuming those healthy foods. We also have good gains in physical activity from 2023 to the present, both in exercising 7 days a week and in exercising 5 or more days a week. And that's over 50% for our middle schoolers being physically active at least 5 days a week. So that's really great news, especially when we look at some of the contradictory data further on around increased screen time, that even though there is increased screen time, students are reporting an increase in physical activity as well. Here's our substance use prevention, and I've highlighted the 2 areas that they ask about around alcohol use and marijuana use, but they further delineate that between have you ever used alcohol is the lifetime alcohol use percentage, and then the have you used alcohol in the last, I think it asks about the last 7 days, so it's kind of talking about a child who may have had an encounter with a substance versus a child who we maybe think is more at risk for substance abuse. And I also want to note that for all 4 of these areas, not only are we below state average, but we've shown a decrease in those percentages from 2023 to 2025. So we are kind of making gains in that area as well. So in family and community support, there's some kind of things that are curious in looking at the data. On the left-hand side are the kind of good pieces, and then on the right-hand side are the pieces that kind of give a little bit of a mixed message around that. We have 93% saying that they receive love and support from their family, which is both higher than the state average and a pretty big increase from 2023. On the other hand, we have only 79% of our students saying that they talk regularly with their family about school. So that's kind of an interesting juxtaposition in understanding that gap. And particularly with that one, we had a decrease from 2023 and which now puts us below the state average in students talking to their parents about academics or school-related items. We have 63% feeling that they matter in the community, which is higher than the state average and also an increase from 2023, but our increase is not outpacing the increase in the state average, so that's an area where with principals yesterday, we had an opportunity to discuss some ways not only in which we offer opportunities for students to see that they matter in the community, but we also kind of explain to students that connection so that we don't just say, we're going to watch Wreaths Across America because it's a fun way to get outside in the morning and see a great parade, but we also kind of explain the importance and the way that it matters to all of those truck drivers and police officers that are making a really long trip, that they feel that your presence as a supporter is important and kind of helping kids make that connection. We also have 74% feeling that an adult at school cares, which is a slight decrease from 2023, even though we're maintaining above state average. We, as educators, feel really concerned about 1 in 4 students that potentially don't feel like they have a connection to an adult at school and what we can do to increase that further. One of the areas that was pretty stark and the curriculum committee had a good discussion around it is the response to do you feel safe at school, with 6th graders showing a drop from 94% in 2023 to 87% in 2025. That is a different group of students, obviously, because those 6th graders are now, the 6th graders would be 8th graders in the 2 years prior. And interestingly, 7th and 8th graders showed a gain in feeling safe from the 2023 data to the 2024 data. One of the interesting conversations that we had around that is that that potentially could have been impacted from that particular class being the class that was in 5th grade when we had a lockdown to an evacuation when they were 5th graders, and that can have a lasting impact on kind of their feeling of overall safety. I think we were initially thinking of it as like a day-to-day, do you feel safe in school? But some of that is a larger societal climate of feeling safe in school and their personal experiences with either lockdowns or evacuation drills or actual lockdowns or evacuations. It means that we need to understand why they feel less safe and try to understand specifically if it's related to bullying, if it's social dynamics, or like looking at this group of students over time, is there particular dynamic within their grade level 1 in which we need to kind of figure out a different way to promote overall feelings of safety. And then we have what I referenced before, which is kind of the screen time paradox. We have physical activity up, and we also have screen time up. So ironically, they don't ask a screen time question in the 7th and 8th grade survey, which is a little frustrating because it would be nice to kind of see if there are differences between 6th grade and our 7th and 8th graders. But we are well over average in Saco for our 6th grade reporters at 62% reporting 3 or more hours per day versus 53% reporting that same use. And we feel like this is critically important because it does impact both sleep quality and quantity at an important middle school developmental stage. It impacts social development. It can be associated with anxiety and depression, and it competes with in-person time with both peers and family members. So we also wanted to kind of show some of the specific data over time, and I did go back to our 2021 results for this as well. We see an online bullying increase in Saco while the state level has decreased, which kind of pairs up with some of the information about increased screen time. Though we are still below the state average, anytime we're kind of outpacing or not aligning with that, it means that we're in a place where we can still fix it before that trajectory continues. And then we still see a pretty big increase in reports of bullying, but again, still below state average. And we had some good conversations with administration that the formal reports of bullying that we get are actually quite low, like the number of investigations that we do in terms of what the statute defines as bullying, and trying to figure out how we can kind of either educate students, empower students to kind of understand the difference between navigating a relationship with a difficult peer or navigating someone who advocating for yourself when someone is teasing you versus a bullying situation in which there is fear and danger of physical or emotional distress that gets repeated over time or feels like it's too much weight to bear. So both encouraging folks to make formal complaints of bullying if those are concerns so that they can be investigated as such, and also continuing to work on that proactive education with students that, you know, to empower them and build that resilience so that they can navigate some of those situations on their own, and they see it as a disagreement or an instance in which they needed to advocate for themselves rather than seeing that as an instance where they really felt like they were ganged up on, which is what we look at as bullying, or a heavier kind of higher level. So kind of our key takeaways are that we do see promising growth in several areas, with nutrition and physical activity really being a highlight for us. That family support is a huge asset that we can kind of utilize and leverage to move some of those other needles that we're looking at. We want additional information about safety perceptions and in particular bullying or student interactions, and then thinking about screen time awareness and also trying to understand if those student reports are about in-school use or out-of-school use, and maybe diving in a little bit deeper too. I think we can all attest to the differences between like doom scrolling through social media and the value of that versus using a device to have a FaceTime conversation with 3 or 4 people that are having an interaction. So just kind of understanding what actually do those hours encompass, and are they things that are adding value or not. I've provided the full data set for 6th grade and 7th and 8th grade. I really tried to look at areas in which we had seen drastic differences over time or gaps, larger gaps between state data and our data. However, there's far more questions on that survey than I had time to go into in depth, and those full results will show you every single question that is asked and the student percentage answers to that. When there are particularly low numbers, they don't report that data for the intent of protecting student privacy. And you will notice if you do dive into those questions that there are a lot of questions with commonalities across grade level bands, but there are also unique questions within each grade level band that don't necessarily appear in other grade levels. I will not go through the TA slides because it's not data that I've fully reviewed. There are some exact percentages in here related to school safety, bullying, and, the bullying trends are noted, but not particular percentages. They've provided particular percentages for substance abuse prevention, and you'll see that some of the questions are different in there just from the nature of like the specificity of how they address or ask about substance use. Physical activity, we see still being above the state average there. Family and community support, so following some of the same trends that we noted, but again, as Ms. Swenson noted earlier, we don't have the full data set, so it does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable to present these slides because I don't understand the full context of them. And certainly if there are other highlights that you see in our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade data that you think warrant further attention, we welcome you to bring those forward so that we can figure out how to address them as a team. and I'm happy to answer any questions. I will note that the 9th through 12th grade survey does have 110 questions, and the questions without those percentage responses are provided for you, so you can get a sense of some of the differences in the questions between the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade survey and the 9, 12.
I think it's also just one of the things that we'll do as an administrative team, which we were able to spend some time yesterday looking through this data. And for the most part, you're seeing positive results, but it still means that there are kids getting bullied. There still means that there are kids who don't feel safe at school. It still means that there are kids that have access to alcohol at a young age. One of the ones that would stand out to me is when you look at the 6th grade piece, 15+% of our kids say it would be pretty easy to get alcohol, which is higher than the state average. That may be just a conversation of resources that we provide to parents through a newsletter or to think about. Maybe as a parent you're saying, well, it's hard, but our kids don't view it that way. And so I think what we have intentions to do is to look through these things and try to set some goals and, look at a few of the areas where we feel like we could make a short-term or long-term difference for our kiddos and some of the things that we can, tick off the list. I think it's also an opportunity for us to reflect on some of the good programming that we've put in place, some of the support that you've had, whether it been for additional positions, and say, hey, we can draw that back to X, Y, and Z. We've been doing this. And continue to make steps through that of places where we've had growth, where we've slid back, and what do we need to do. I find this very powerful information for a school department. The MIDAS survey is probably the most requested document in a district by outside organizations who are looking to get funding for certain grants. We get a lot of conversations like in our partnerships with UNE, Healthy Maine, the food pantries, other organizations like that want this data to help support the grant that they are writing that brings into the schools. So again, our hope is to have greater conversation as a community. And this isn't just about school staff. When you look through this stuff, a lot of this is about outside community staff. One of the ones that we were talking about, our high school population, and one of the trends that many superintendents are noticing at the high school level is the percentage of students who are outwardly reporting that they're members of the LGBTQ community. And we worry, we don't think the percentage has changed, but we worry that kids are not reporting or saying stuff because they're afraid of what's going on in our society. And what other impacts could that have on the mental health of our students? So I think there's a lot of things that's really important for families and communities to talk about. And, this is something that we plan to continue to push forward to make sure that we can have those conversations. We can line up budget support, as we see things, because that would be saying, hey, we're making good gains on this, and we know that there can be tough budget seasons and things get thrown on the table to say, hey, is this something that we can have? But no, maybe we slide back in areas when we don't have something. So I welcome you guys to look through this piece. Please bring forward any questions to us as an administrative team, and we'll be coming back with some goals that we're going to use to set around this data to see what some of the things that we will work for over the next year or so. We also will be looking at that 5th grade piece of why we haven't had the opportunity to be part of that.
All right. Any questions for Superintendent Ray or Assistant Superintendent Meg Parkhurst? School Board Member Truman?
I know we already discussed this at curriculum, but I think it would be important, or not even important, but interesting to find how students are reporting their screen time, as you had mentioned, because we did talk about that. I was like, I wonder how much of that is actually during the daytime, like during school, versus at home staring at YouTube or whatever it is. And I'm really happy that you guys are looking into this, into these little bits of information about students. And it does seem like our percentages are really high, but like you said, there's still 15% or some 20% of students that don't feel the way that we were hoping that they would feel, safe or otherwise. And it still surprises me how young students are starting with alcohol and marijuana use. So despite what I know, like my friends back in the day and all that stuff, like kids have such easy access to it. So I appreciate you guys disseminating this information. It's helpful.
I also, just to piggyback, I think like one of the pieces is that when you go through this stuff, like we all have hard jobs being parents today. It's not easy. Some of the stuff as a parent I wouldn't even be thinking about or asking about until it's there. And so I think that's also the power of this piece, is how we work with our families to have greater conversations about this. Again, marijuana access, alcohol access, bullying, all of those pieces, and how we can define ourselves. And, you know, again, even when the data looks good, you have to challenge yourself and say, how do we become better? And how do we make a great environment for our kiddos moving forward? And I think that's what the work I know that our principals will look at and our staff will look at to make sure that there is access, because I suspect that if you're a superintendent that has very different demographics, certain things pop up in some places that don't in others, and we want to work on those.
All right. Any other questions from the board? School Board Member Roach?
Well, of course, it's numbers, so I'm going to ask a few things. First off, was this survey done before COVID? Because we're comparing 23 to 25.
Yeah, we have data, I think, all the way back to 2015. And maybe there is data prior to that. It might just be on a different database or login, but it's been done, I want to say, for at least my 23 years in education. I've known about the existence of it. They do update and change some of the questions over time.
So just not for this meeting, but of course not for this meeting, but for say 2019, could you send that to the board?
Yeah.
Behind? Okay. I just to kind of really compare numbers, because some of the improvements I think are just more confidence in going to school. Not only, I'm just saying that could be part of it, is that you got a 2023, a year or two out of COVID, but it's getting better. You're having more faith in your community, your surroundings, and that should improve the numbers locally and the state. To that sixth grade issue, that they don't feel as safe as much as 7th and 8th, and also the TA ages too. That could be just because, not just, but that could be because they're the youngest of that cohort, and they experience COVID times, at the younger school grades more than the higher grades. It could be just from that. So, and then comparing to state, I get a little uncomfortable with that for the mere fact that we're a city, meaning more community, more maybe a little more wealth too, when it comes to use of a screen. That might not be as available if you're in rural Maine and you're kind of working around the land and not affording maybe screens that are in part of it. But yeah, screen time is absolutely a concern, no matter what. I saw we were talking about the access to alcohol, but one of the benefits of screen time is that the kids are not partaking. I mean, what was it, 11% at TA? I mean, I went to high school, dating myself in 1988, and anyway, we were close to 11%, let's put it that way. So that, I feel like that's good news for the health of the kids. The last point, and maybe it's a question for Anne Marie, I don't think there's a big gulf between the schools and TAs. I thank them for providing the data that we have. And we have to agree, more data, the better. I mean, no matter what the situation. So for the school, for you, Meg, I think I'm okay if, it's mostly Saco students. There's going to be Dayton, Arundel, maybe a question for Anne Marie. Are international students included in that too? Okay, so that might be a division that we might need broken out, but I think I'd be okay with, in general, all the students that are from Maine or from New England or what have you. I do want to emphasize too, I think the importance, it's been my personal belief raising kids here, is that I do think it's critical that 8th and 9th grade, that transition is locked and loaded. You have as much data as possible. So the key data set for me, the raw data, would be that 9th grade data. And so just to make sure we as the middle school are, of course, providing, TA, kids ready to adapt to the high school age, and similarly, is TA doing a good job, which I'm not saying they're not, but of bringing in the 8th grade kids to 9th grade. I don't think there should be that much of a difference between the grades, but it is certainly a different environment in different schools, so the more data, the more sharing, the better, at least for that grade, if not as much as we can. Okay, thank you.
And just as a point of clarification, they do not give us the results back disaggregated by grade. So when we get the 7th and 8th grade data, it's just one data set, and I think it's the same way for the high school. I don't think that the school even gets back data to say, here's your 9th grade percentages, 10th, 11th, 12th. It's just everybody together.
So 7th and 8th grade, I'm fine with, but
Yeah.
there's no 9 and 10 or 11 and 12. It's just
It's all one
it's all
9-12 survey, and even though they tell you how many students have taken it in each grade level.
That's what I was going with. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have the number of students at each grade level, but we can't just say, like, just show me the 9th grade
Okay.
percentages for all these questions. It's lumping them all in to the same percentages, at least from the data.
And the
we see.
questions are the same for a 9th grader as it is a 12th grader?
Correct,
And that's a state thing?
correct.
Okay, all right. I have questions on that, but I'll let that go. Okay. Big difference between 9th and 12th grade, but anyway, thanks.
I also just want to say too, I think whether you can, I know we can't take out who's from Saco and who's not. I don't think that part is as important as knowing what is happening with those students that your child is having interactions with at some point. You know what I mean? So like whether they're an international student or a day student that's coming from one of the communities around here or a tuition student, I don't think any of that really matters so much as this is good information for us to know what our students will be experiencing, whether it's in the middle school or when they get up to the high school, so.
And I agree, the effect students have on each other. I just, if it was differentiating, the only thing I would choose it would be the international student, just because they just had a completely different experience before getting to freshman year, if you're looking for some trends or what have you, but that is the argument to keep them all together, because you're experiencing hopefully the same, environment.
And again, I think it's, many of these questions on any of these surveys aren't necessarily about the school. It's about the community that we come from. And when I look at, some of the questions that are on the 9 through 12 survey, one of the questions that is reported out, does your family have strong rules around underage drinking? Well, if that percentage of kids is reporting that families don't, that's great for me to know as a family member so I can have those great conversations with other peer parents. Like, our kids may not view it this way. And so that's why I think this is important information for all grade levels and for parents to be able to have access to, because it's about raising kids and knowing what's going on. We know we have a pretty good idea, for the most part, how our kids do academically because we get reports. We understand that piece. That information is provided. One of the toughest pieces, especially in this day and age, is the social aspect of our kiddos, because we don't know, and so much is different between what we do because it's happening behind a screen or it's not there for us. And so we'll make sure that, at least on our end, that our families are getting the information so that we can have a greater conversation about it.
It's going to put a shout out to Australia, the country.
Yeah.
So pretty similar to the United States, right? So just when we leave here, why can't we do what Australia did? And if you don't know what Australia did, that'll be your homework assignment tonight. So, but if we can make a vote for that for Saco alone, I'll make that motion at the next meeting, but I don't think we can, so I'll just let it go for now. Thanks.
School Board Member Kidder?
I guess this is more to echo a lot of sentiments that have been made, but I personally, my kids are super young, they're still at young school, but seeing what the environment that they're going to be in looks like, even like this year, like thinking ahead to when they're going to be in high school, to me, it doesn't matter if those are Saco kids or not, so I guess this is more of an appeal to TA. That, specifically, Jeremy had shared with us Biddeford High School's survey results, and there's a question in there about how much do you think people risk harming themselves physically or in other ways if they have 1 or 2 drinks of an alcoholic beverage nearly every day. And it was 27.5% of Biddeford High School students said either no risk or a slight risk. And to me, that's not an education problem, that's a community problem. And so I would personally think that that's really valuable information for Saco parents to know if that's being influenced to their children in the schools. That is a really concerning amount of kids in Biddeford, so I would be really interested to see in Saco how many of them feel similarly, because whether your parents are preaching to you all day, every day, whether you're having presentations at school, isn't necessarily going to change how you feel about drugs or alcohol and their impact on your body or your mental health or your well-being in general. If your friends are saying, no, you're going to be fine, everyone's going to be fine. So to me, that is really the only piece of evidence that I need, that we might want this information for Saco parents as well. Because in Biddeford, it's a slightly different environment. There's a different population, and that number scares me a lot for Biddeford, but I would be really interested to see what it is for Saco.
I also have to say, too, our students hang out together across the river. So whether one is doing more poorly than another, for lack of a better term, it's everybody's concerned in this general area, like how they view whatever those risks are. So I think it's important for us to know as a community all around, so.
I would agree. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. All right, we will move on to item G, first reading of policies. We have item A, August 25th, revision of BBD school board declared vacancy caused by absenteeism. Item B, an October 8th, 25th, review BBBE and expired term fulfillment and vacancies. BCA, school board member code of ethics. Item D, BCB, board member conflict of interest. Item E, 2025 BEDH, public participation at Saco school board meetings. Item F, BBA, School Board Powers and Responsibilities. Item G, BBAA, Board Member Authority and Responsibilities. Item H, BBBA, Board Member Qualifications. Item I, BCAB, Governance Standard. Item J, JLI-E, Procedure for Reports and Dangerous Behavior. Item K, BCAB, Governance of Standard. Item L, item BDF, Board Advisory Committees. Do I have a motion on the first reading of policies? School Board Member Johnston?
Thank you, and thank you for reading all of that.
Not a problem.
I move we approve the first reading of policies B, BD, BBBE, BCA, BCB, BEDH, BBA, BBAA, BBBA, BCAB, JLI-E, BCAB, and BDF.
Second.
I have a motion by School Board Member Johnson with a second by School Board Member Truman. Any discussion on the first reading of policies? All right. Roll call vote. School Board Member Warnoff?
Yes?
School Board Member Richards?
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member Roach?
Yes.
School Board Member Kidder?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to item H, policies to strike. Item A, let me start over. BBAB, School Board Self-Evaluation. And item B, BBAB-R, Board Self-Evaluation Procedures. Do I have a motion? School Board Member Johnston?
Thank you. I move we strike policies BBAB and BBAB-R.
I have a motion by School Board Member Johnston. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member Truman. Any discussion on the strike of policies? School Board Member Roach?
First, just a question to Beth, because she was the only one on the school board at the time. So this was 2019, this was instituted?
Sorry, Kevin, you're going back to 2019, and what is the question?
That's when the policy was put in place, the self-evaluation of a school board?
It was in place at that point in time. It was when we, I honestly don't know when it first came into being, but, okay, so Sarah's correctly pointed out to me that it was adopted in 19 and revised in 19 also. So, yes, if that answers your question, I'll go on.
Okay, not to bring up the past, but there was a certain superintendent back in the time that had a theory that somehow the school board reported to him, and I believe that this type of policy was put in. And just not to, think that the school board eliminating this policy is somehow eliminating our, performance. Our performance is judged by the voters. All right, so we're your board to oversee administration. So the evaluation is the citizens, not our self-reflection and administration. It is you. And I am full support of getting rid of these policies. I mean, of course we can make mistakes, but that is you to judge, not us. And so I do remember somewhat that time, and I saw what was going on there, and there has been many changes since then. And so I don't want to make it look like we're trying to hide our bad performance. We're out here to the public, and then you guys vote whether we should be here or not. Thank you.
I would just add, Kevin, that I think it was, to some extent, intended to make board members reflect on their own performance or in the collaborativeness or not of the board as a whole. But I think that it was never actually effectively used. And I do agree with you, we are out in the open, and I don't believe that we need that policy. I don't think it serves a purpose. I certainly don't think that we should not reflect on our own workmanship here. But I do not think, I think it actually became, on a couple of occasions, fairly contentious among board members. And I don't think that that's necessarily constructive at all. So if that helps at all, thank you.
All right, any other discussion? School Board Member Warnoff? Nope, okay, just checking. All right, any other discussion? All right, roll call vote. School Board Member Warnoff?
Yes?
School Board Member Richards?
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member Roach?
Yes.
School Board Member Kidder?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. All right. Moving on to item 13, there is no other information that has been brought to my attention. Moving on to item 14, executive session. There is no executive session this evening, so we can move right on to item 15, which is adjournment. Do I have a motion? Oh, one thing.
One thing.
School Board Member Rhodes.
No, just for other information, I just want to thank, so we've been talking about Thornton Academy. Thank you for the invite to the holiday concert. I went last night, and I have a huge bias for some reason to jazz band jams, and that was just perfect. The whole show was very good, but the jazz band specifically was good, so thank you.
All right. Any other information? Back to adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, so moved by School Board Member Richards. Any second?
Second.
Second by Truman. School Board Member Truman, and roll call vote. School Board Member Warnoff?
Yes?
School Board Member Richards?
Yes.
School Board, I vote yes for myself. School Board Member Roach?
Yes.
School Board Member Kidder?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes at 7-0 at 8:28 p.m. to adjourn. Thank you so much and have a great evening. Take care.